Have you ever noticed that some mornings, when we step out of bed, our legs feel heavy, stiff after only a few steps, and sometimes even cramp unexpectedly? This is not always just a matter of aging. In many cases, it is the result of everyday eating habits that often go unnoticed, especially the habit of consuming too much salt. Salt may seem harmless because it is part of nearly every meal, but in reality, it can silently deplete calcium, disrupt electrolyte balance, and gradually weaken our muscles. If this continues unchecked, our legs, the pillars that support the body, will find it harder and harder to stay flexible and strong. The good news is that we are here to explain what is really happening inside the body and explore practical solutions. In today's video, we will take a closer look at what happens when we eat salty foods, why excess sodium makes muscles weaker, and most importantly, what simple steps we can take starting today to restore strength and mobility. Before we dive in, if you find this content useful, I would truly appreciate it if you give this video a like, share it with other older adults who may need the information, and don't forget to subscribe so you can join us for more health topics designed for later life. First, let's talk about the relationship between salt and the body. Salt, or more precisely sodium chloride, is a seasoning that seems inseparable from our daily meals. From a bowl of soup, to a piece of beefsteak, to even a slice of bread, salt is present everywhere. In other words, salt has become such a constant companion that most of us hardly give it a second thought. And in truth, when consumed in moderation, salt plays a critical role in health, particularly in muscle function. Every time we move, our muscle cells rely on electrical signals sent and received from the nervous system. These signals are actually generated by the movement of sodium and potassium ions across cell membranes. Without any sodium at all, our muscles would not be able to contract or relax properly, leading to fatigue, weakness, or in severe cases, paralysis. This shows that sodium is not the enemy. It is an essential mineral that helps keep us alive. However, here is the paradox. Too much of a good thing becomes harmful. After the age of 60, our bodies undergo many changes, and one of them is a reduced ability to regulate electrolytes. The kidneys, the organs that filter and flush out excess sodium, no longer function as efficiently as they once did. When sodium intake surpasses the recommended level, which is generally more than 2.3 grams per day, the kidneys have to work harder to eliminate the excess. In the process, other important minerals are lost, especially calcium and magnesium. This is the starting point for the direct consequences on muscle health. Calcium is vital not only for bones, but also for muscle function. When calcium levels in the blood drop because too much of it is flushed out along with sodium, muscles lose their ability to contract and release properly, resulting in cramps, tremors, or sudden weakness. Magnesium works in a similar way. It is the mineral that allows muscle fibers to relax after each contraction. Without it, muscles cannot rest, leaving them tight and sore. This explains why many older adults who eat salty diets complain that their legs cramp at night, or that even short walks make their calves feel heavy. These are not just passing discomforts, they are signs of a disrupted electrolyte balance caused by excess sodium. To make this easier to picture, think of an old electrical wire. When too much current runs through it, the wire overheats, flickers, and may even burn out the devices it is connected to. Muscles behave in much the same way. With too much sodium, the electrical current inside the body becomes unstable. Cells no longer receive clear signals, and the result is reduced strength, slower reflexes, and impaired balance. For people over 60, this is particularly dangerous because it can increase the risk of falls, one of the leading causes of hip fractures and the loss of independence in old age. And the effects do not stop at cramps or weak muscles. A high-salt diet over time also undermines the skeletal framework that supports the body. When the kidneys continually flush calcium out along with sodium, bones lose their density and become more fragile, increasing the risk of osteoporosis. Weak bones mean that muscles no longer have a firm anchor to attach to, making movement even harder. This is why reducing salt is not just about controlling blood pressure, it is also about protecting muscle strength and bone health. In short, salt is necessary, but for older adults, the line between enough and too much is very thin. Just a little over the recommended amount can quietly place our muscles and legs under strain. Common habits like dipping food into salty sauces, eating pickled vegetables, or relying on processed foods such as sausages, bacon, or instant noodles are the hidden culprits that chip away at our strength day by day. If the first point showed us how salt directly disrupts electrolyte balance and triggers muscle cramps, then, on a deeper level, salt also strongly affects blood pressure and circulation, which in turn indirectly weakens the legs. This is a mechanism that many older adults often overlook, but it plays an essential role in maintaining muscle strength after 60. When we consume too much salt, sodium levels in the blood rise. Sodium naturally pulls in water, so the body retains more fluid to balance things out. As a result, blood volume increases. The heart has to pump harder to move blood throughout the body, and pressure on vessel walls rises. This is exactly why high salt intake leads to high blood pressure. At first glance, this may seem like only a cardiovascular issue, but in fact, it directly affects the muscles, especially the muscles in the legs. For muscles to remain strong, they must receive a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients through the bloodstream. When high blood pressure continues over time, blood vessels stiffen and lose elasticity. The tiny capillaries that feed the muscles are damaged and begin to narrow. It is like a narrow road that falls into disrepair. Blood rich in oxygen no longer reaches the muscles quickly or fully. The outcome is that muscle fibers are undernourished. Recovery after activity slows down, and strength gradually declines. This explains why many older adults with a salty diet feel their legs grow heavier, their pace slower, and their endurance lower compared to those who maintain a low-salt diet. Another important point is that high blood pressure also damages the tiny blood vessels in the kidneys, reducing their ability to filter waste. As kidney function declines, toxins build up in the bloodstream, which further harms muscles, leaving them weaker than before. This creates a vicious cycle. Salty foods raise blood pressure. High blood pressure reduces circulation. Poor circulation weakens muscles. Weak muscles reduce activity, and reduced activity accelerates decline. To picture this, think of muscles as a garden and blood as the irrigation water. If the pipes are under high pressure and begin to crack, the water supply becomes uneven. Plants in that garden will struggle, leaves will yellow, and growth will stall. Our muscles work the same way if blood flow is compromised by excess salt. Then no matter how hard we try to stay active, they will not achieve their natural resilience. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that when older adults reduced their salt intake while increasing minerals, such as magnesium, their muscle strength improved significantly, and their risk of falling decreased. This confirms that controlling sodium is not just about protecting the heart, but is also a foundation for keeping legs steady and strong. In other words, beyond cramps or stiffness, excess salt silently weakens muscles by tightening the blood vessels and reducing their ability to deliver nutrients. This is an indirect yet dangerous enemy, especially after 60, when muscles are already naturally declining due to aging. Most of us think of salt as only a risk for the heart or kidneys, but few realize that excess sodium can also ignite a more silent condition, chronic inflammation. And this long-lasting inflammation is a key factor that accelerates muscle loss, or sarcopenia, in older adults. When salt intake is high, the body does not just retain water, it also pushes the immune system into an unfavorable state. Recent studies suggest that elevated sodium levels can alter the activity of certain immune cells, prompting them to release more pro-inflammatory molecules than usual. At first, inflammation helps the body fight infection, but when it lingers at a low level day after day, it becomes a burden to the entire system. In the muscles, chronic inflammation is like a small fire that never goes out. It speeds up protein breakdown, tearing down muscle fibers faster, while at the same time slowing the process of building new proteins. The result is gradual muscle shrinkage, reduced strength, and weaker recovery after physical activity or falls. This is why so many people after 60, even those who eat what seems like enough protein, still feel their bodies growing weaker each day. And if the diet remains high in salt, that lingering fire only burns hotter, pushing muscle decline forward more quickly. To make this clearer, imagine muscles as a construction site. Protein is the brick, while enzymes and hormones are the builders. Normally, they can build a strong wall, but chronic inflammation is like a steady rain that soaks the bricks and slows the builders down. The wall never gets finished, and over time it crumbles lower instead of standing taller. This is particularly dangerous because sarcopenia does not just mean weaker muscles. It also raises the risk of falls, fractures, and the loss of independence in daily life. Research has even suggested that simply reducing sodium intake while adding more foods rich in balancing minerals like potassium and magnesium can significantly reduce inflammation, thereby improving muscle repair and regeneration. For older adults, this is a powerful reminder. Controlling salt is not only about stabilizing blood pressure, but also about protecting muscles from the silent erosion of chronic inflammation. Strong legs are not maintained by protein alone or by exercise alone. They also need an internal environment that is calm, balanced, and low in inflammation. One of the less obvious yet deeply important effects of salt is its ability to disrupt the body's mineral balance, especially calcium and magnesium. These two minerals form the foundation for both bone health and muscle strength, and when they are lost due to excessive salt intake, the consequences arrive more quickly than we might expect. When dietary salt is high, the kidneys must work harder to expel the extra sodium. In the process, calcium is also flushed out through urine. In other words, every salty meal carries away a little of our body's calcium before it can be reabsorbed. Over time, this lowers bone density, leaving the skeletal frame brittle and more prone to fractures. For older adults, this hidden loss of calcium combines with age-related osteoporosis, greatly increasing the risk of hip fractures and spinal breaks events that often rob people of their independence. Magnesium, the mineral that regulates muscle relaxation and keeps nerve signals steady, is also compromised by a salty diet. Excess sodium disrupts the body's electrolyte balance and reduces its ability to hold on to magnesium. The result is muscles that are more likely to cramp, tremble, or even spasm suddenly during rest or while walking. For those over 60, a nighttime leg cramp is not just painful, but can lead to a dangerous fall if they try to stand up too quickly. This mechanism shows us that salt is not just about blood pressure or heart health. It strikes at the very foundation of movement. A body that is low in calcium leaves bones fragile, while low magnesium leaves muscles unstable. When these two weaknesses combine, mobility is directly threatened. Research has confirmed this connection. Older adults who reduced their salt intake while adding natural sources of magnesium such as leafy greens, nuts, and beans showed marked improvements in leg strength and fewer nighttime cramps. This demonstrates that controlling salt is not just about a number on a blood pressure monitor. It is a strategy to protect both bones and muscles, helping us maintain agility and confidence in every step. Once we begin to lower the salt in our meals and increase magnesium intake, the body often responds with noticeable improvements. The first and most obvious is steadier blood pressure. With less sodium, blood vessels relax, the heart pumps with less strain, and circulation improves, delivering oxygen and nutrients more efficiently to the muscles. Stronger blood flow means muscles, especially those in the legs that bear the body's weight, receive more fuel to perform well and recover after activity. At the same time, magnesium acts like a natural lubricant for the nerve muscle system. It regulates how calcium and potassium move in and out of cells, which is what allows muscles to contract and relax smoothly. Without magnesium, muscles stay tense and prone to cramping. With enough magnesium, nerve signals flow evenly, contractions release more gracefully, and movement feels steady rather than shaky. For those over 60, adding magnesium through foods like green vegetables, nuts, and whole grains helps maintain rhythm in daily activity, lowers the risk of falls, and brings back confidence in walking. Multiple studies have shown that combining reduced salt with higher magnesium intake can boost muscle strength and lower fall risk in older adults. The mechanism is straightforward. Less salt means kidneys are less strained and waste fewer minerals, while more magnesium ensures muscles use those minerals efficiently. This creates a positive cycle. Low salt prevents mineral loss. Higher magnesium smooths muscle function, and together they give legs more stability. The benefits extend beyond muscles alone. Older adults who eat with less salt and more magnesium often report deeper sleep, fewer nighttime cramps, lower nerve tension, and stronger cardiovascular health. The lifestyle shift is not complicated. Replace excess salt with natural herbs and spices like garlic, onion, pepper, lemon, or fresh herbs for flavor, and add a handful of almonds, pumpkin seeds, or an extra portion of greens to meals. These small daily choices, when practiced consistently, add up to significant gains for muscle strength and overall health. So, how to reduce salts, impact on muscles, and add magnesium effectively. Now that we understand how salt can weaken muscles and why magnesium plays such a vital role, the next question naturally becomes, how do we balance the two in everyday life? The good news is, we do not need drastic changes. Small, steady adjustments can bring visible results. The first step is to cut back on salt right at the cooking stage. We can start gradually by using less salt in daily meals and replacing it with natural seasonings. A squeeze of lemon on fish or vegetables adds brightness and a hint of savory flavor. Fresh herbs like basil, dill, and parsley, along with spices such as pepper, ginger, and garlic, make food tastier while also providing antioxidants. As our taste buds adapt, meals with less salt will no longer feel bland. In fact, many people discover they enjoy the lighter, fresher flavors even more. The next step is to control hidden salt in processed foods. Many people don't realize that the biggest source of salt isn't the spoonful we add to the pot, but what's already inside bread, canned soups, sausages, deli meats, and fast food. A quick glance at the nutrition label in the grocery store often reveals sodium levels that are alarmingly high. That's why cooking more meals at home, choosing fresh produce, and limiting packaged foods is one of the best ways to protect muscles and overall health. Alongside reducing salt, adding magnesium from natural foods is key to restoring balance. Dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, nuts such as almonds, pumpkin seeds, and cashews, and whole grains like oats and brown rice are excellent sources. A banana or a serving of sweet potato. As a snack, not only adds potassium, but also helps magnesium work more effectively to reduce cramps and keep legs flexible. Another important step is staying well hydrated. When the body has enough water, the kidneys can flush out excess sodium more efficiently while conserving essential minerals like magnesium and potassium. Older adults may not feel as thirsty, but keeping up with 1.5 to 2 liters of fluid per day, whether from water, light soups, or mild herbal teas can make a big difference in electrolyte balance. So reducing the impact of salt doesn't mean forcing ourselves to eat food that tastes flat. It's about smart choices using less refined salt, relying more on natural herbs and spices, choosing fresh foods over packaged ones, and strengthening the diet with magnesium-rich vegetables, nuts, and whole grains. This is the sustainable formula for protecting muscle health after 60, giving our legs the strength and resilience to carry us with confidence. We've now gone through 6 important points to clearly understand why salt affects muscles and how to protect our health after 60. First, salt in moderation is still necessary to maintain electrolytes and smooth muscle contraction. But once it goes beyond safe limits, it becomes a burden. Second, consuming too much salt disrupts electrolyte balance, causing calcium and magnesium to be lost, which makes muscles less flexible and more prone to cramps. Third, the habit of eating salty foods from processed products, canned goods, and fast food is the hidden factor that weakens our legs day by day without us realizing it. Fourth, the damage from excess salt doesn't stop at weak muscles. It also paves the way for high blood pressure, heart disease, and osteoporosis, all of which make mobility worse. Fifth, reducing salt and adding magnesium has been proven to improve muscle strength, ease cramps, and lower the risk of falls in older adults. Sixth, to limit the harmful effects of salt, we can start by cutting down during cooking, replacing it with natural herbs and spices, choosing fresh foods, and adding magnesium from leafy greens, nuts, and whole grains, along with staying well hydrated every day. So the strength of our legs after 60 does not depend only on exercise, but also on what we eat daily. A little less salt, a few more vegetables and nuts, together with consistent good habits, will help us walk more firmly and confidently. If you found today's video helpful, please share your thoughts in the comments. Do you usually eat salty meals? And after hearing this analysis, are you ready to try cutting back on salt and adding more greens to protect your muscles? Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe so we can keep moving forward together on the journey to better health.